Council members reach a consensus on funding for a new Bucks basketball arena. Is the sixth time a charm for the guy applying to open a strip club downtown? And streamlining city regulations to become more business friendly. This is Council Rewind, and I'm Dustin Weiss. We've heard talk about owning the future and how it's cheaper to keep them. But one thing's for sure, there's been a lot of buzz over plans for a new Milwaukee Bucks basketball arena downtown. The new owners offered $250 million toward the plan and an ultimatum. Local governments would have to cover an equal share or else the team would leave the city. Through negotiations with the state, the county, and the Wisconsin Center District, the city's share came out to $47 million to go toward a parking garage and a public plaza. And on September 22nd, the council met to take final action on the funding plan.
So we're amending the term sheet as it was amended at the zoning committee meeting. So that's basically the procedural context. Regarding 4th Street, basically what this amendment being proposed by Alderwoman Coggs does today is to defer the decision on whether 4th Street will be vacated. Because under our code of ordinances, there is a specific ordinance that governs the process for vacating streets. It's actually mandated by state statute. And a formal application has to be filed pursuant to that ordinance to vacate a street, any street. And that file would then go to the Plan Commission for review, and would then go to the Public Works Committee for review, and then ultimately to the full council for approval. So that's basically what's going to be done here. So basically we're deferring a final decision on vacating 4th Street. Some council members may support it, some may not in the end, but the bottom line is this legislation which we are approving today or being asked to approve does not automatically vacate 4th Street. Rather, it indicates that the city will initiate the vacation process through normal channels, and that we'll have public hearings on that issue. Hopefully we'll have more plans and specifications and an operating plan as to how a vacated 4th Street would be utilized, what it would look like, how this plaza would function, which is part of the problem because at this point, through no fault of anyone, we don't have those details. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks we will have those details and we can reach an informed decision on whether this street should be vacated or not. The other point that's being made is in the event we do vacate the street, the Bucks would agree to grant us an easement over that street for transportation, utility, and public access. But most significantly, and this is a true, I would definitely congratulate Alderwoman Coggs for this idea, is that in the event that the Bucks cease to use the plaza for whatever reason, or cease to use it consistent with their plan of operations, the city would have a right to get the street back.
That infrastructure that we are talking about, I think it's important for us to highlight the fact that the Bucks are putting in half of these resources. Right now we have approximately $750,000 dedicated to a youth recruitment program, a citywide recruitment program, a capacity building component that was hard pressed by Alderwoman Coggs to include in this development, and now also this gap financing, which was actually part of the agreement, but it wasn't funded, and we had not had the trade by trade component that I think is necessary in order to make these percentages meaningful.
A large part of what we talk about here involves areas of the Park East corridor. A corridor that, while we've seen some positive development on the periphery, the bulk of what we are talking about as part of a larger development deal here on the private side is territory that has not moved on its own and through the private sector initiative in better than 15 years. And I think given some of the cost, it would be fair to say that we could expect to see at least another 15 or so more years if it weren't for some other initiative such as that which is being brought forward here today. I may be wrong, Mr. President, but I believe that if we were strictly dealing with a asking of city revenues for an arena, that it would not pass this Common Council. I firmly believe that. I think that even with that, and I anticipate that this will move forward here today, I think that the key measure and importance is really built around the largesse of investment that will come in the form of private development in and around, expected to be in the area of about $500 million.
I remember this coming before the committee on Z&D, and I had a meeting with the commissioner on this deal. And I remember the term, "This is the best deal that we can get." I remember that from the administration. This is the best deal we can get. And I must say that, my colleagues, you've actually put together a better deal.
And I don't want this to get lost in all the discussion and debate about the new sports facility is the commitment of Senator Cole to this project. We start talking about people writing checks at the tune of $47 million, $55 million, $75 million, $80 million. But once again, Senator Cole has showed his commitment to this city, to this area, his love for the Bucks and the Bucks fans, and his support of his fan base and constituency base are writing the biggest check of $100 million check from Senator Cole. So I don't want that to get lost in this. I want to make sure people understand that, but for Senator Cole, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having these discussions. We wouldn't be having this conversation. So I want to publicly thank the senator for once again providing the great leadership that he has always provided throughout his life for the citizens of Milwaukee.
I want to go all the way back to when this first started, when the governor said, it's cheaper to keep them. Think about that. It's cheaper to keep them. And nobody challenged that. Nobody challenged that because we're going to get, what, $25, $30 million in taxes from the players, but we're going to have to contribute hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm not sure where there's that, where that good deal is.
But to address the tax issue, during committee, Alderman Wachowski asked a direct question to the Commissioner of the Department of City Development and to the Bucks. Will this deal cost the taxpayer any money? And the response was no. The TID creates the funding mechanism for us to fund this development. After the TID is paid for, then the money goes into general purposes or wherever we want to put it for city services.
They want us to go in halvesies, okay. If you're going to go in halvesies with somebody on the grief, you should go in halvesies with somebody on the gravy too. So I would much prefer this deal, and the amendment failed in committee, and obviously there's not the will on the council to play that game of poker with the Bucks, because it would be a game of poker. They're saying, oh, we'd walk away. If they're saying it's our team, it's our asset, let us keep the money. I'm fine with private businesses keeping the money if we're not an investor. Once you become an investor, you should demand a return. So for me to support this deal, there would need to be, I'm willing to take a risk. I'm willing to not ask for upfront guaranteed payback. I'd prefer it if we just loaned it, but I'd like there to be some possibility of us getting paid back, especially if this deal works out as spectacularly as we all hope for our city, for our neighborhoods, for our workers here in the city of Milwaukee, for the fans, but also for the team. We all want the team to make money. But if they're going to make money and we're borrowing $400 million to help them make money, I don't see why they shouldn't pay us back.
For me, it's a million ways that you can address poverty and quality of life issues like crime and all of that. It's a million different ways that we have the responsibility as policymakers and as citizens in the city of Milwaukee have to address those issues. But one of those ways is economics and access to opportunity and jobs. And in order for us to make those that connection, I chose to speak again because I wanted to just again make that connection between this Bucks deal that's going on now and the opportunity that exists to attempt to address, at least in part, I'm not saying it's the sole answer, but at least in part, some of the quality of life issues that we as a city struggle with on a daily basis. The capacity building was important to me because I thought that companies, small and minority-owned companies, should have an opportunity to work and grow from and learn from and build their capacity up on the largest development deal that this city has ever had.
The city's Bucks Arena funding plan passed council on a 12-3 vote. Another plan for an entertainment center downtown faced a tougher sell, however. The operator of Silk Exotic Gentlemen's Club was back with his 6th application to open downtown, fresh off a court victory in his favor. But at a September 17th Licenses Committee hearing, neighbors of the proposed site turned out in droves.
MSOE has employees, student workers, and visitors in Krieger Hall. The radio station has someone in the station 24/7. The laboratory facility often has student workers into the evening hours. Classes typically run till 5 p.m. Given the predictable increase in assaults and robberies, I am extremely concerned about the safety of our employees, our students, and visitors, given the possibility of a sexually oriented business moving in next door. Finally, I object to the issuance of a license based on negative financial impact that the business will have on MSOE. MSOE is required by the federal government through the Clery Act to disclose and make available campus crime statistics. In our statistics, we do need to include any crimes which occur in the vicinity of Krieger Hall. The increase in crime which will occur if Silk Exotic is allowed to operate at 804 North Milwaukee Street will negatively affect our ability to recruit students and will cost us tuition dollars.
Would the provision of outside professional security patrols in the neighborhood of the proposed location provide you with any additional comfort in having the establishment?
It wouldn't provide that for me, no. It's part of it is a perception. When you see the lights up there, I think our students, especially again, our female students, are going to want to avoid being in that area without a chaperone.
If there was no external representation for the facility that could be observed from the street, would that alleviate that concern?
I think it'll be pretty obvious to our students that they know on the corner right next to our building 100 feet away that that's a strip joint. I don't think that'll be a secret.
I've talked to all the physicians in our group that are downtown, and we've all come to the agreement that if there is a license granted at the 804 North Milwaukee location for the strip club, that our lease, which is up on July 1 of June 30th, 2017, we won't be renewing it. We can't continue to try and build our practice downtown and continue to see it thrive if this club is licensed. I feel that there's a strong commitment from the physicians to that, and they all feel very strongly that that just won't happen. So we would like to remain downtown. We want to continue to support downtown. We feel that there's negative secondary impacts which will result if the club is licensed.
First of all, it can put at risk our efforts to help the vulnerable in this neighborhood. As you know, the Cathedral property covers an entire city block. Most of it is dedicated to improve and elevate the quality of life, especially of the vulnerable. We operate the Open Door Cafe, which serves a hot lunch 6 days a week to the poor and needy. The Cathedral Center, which is a homeless shelter, which not only houses families and women, but also gets them off the streets and back into homes. Our space is also used for Tenor High School, which is a charter school, reaching out to educate those whose needs are not met in regular curriculum in schools. We have the Office for AIDS Ministry, as well as a very strong St. Vincent de Paul Conference, which helps those facing hardship. We provide resources, support, and encouragement to help people in the midst of precarious life situations. We fear that Silk Exotic would draw attention away from our people who should be focusing on overcoming these challenges and having them to face the stress and the attraction of what that club would offer.
I am in the building that looks almost exactly like the proposed building. There are a number of times where I have clients, elderly clients who walk over to my office families who drive down with their children during the daytime. When I heard that they wanted to be open at 11 o'clock, that brought concern to me. Another concern that I have is there are many times where I am alone in my office. I am the only office on the first floor. We do have panhandlers who come into our office. We do have panhandlers who do come in front of our building. We have petty theft. And I personally will not feel comfortable having a strip club right across the street from my business. I purchased this business that has been in Milwaukee since 1980. I purchased it in 2006. I had the opportunity to move it. I chose not to.
So I've been there for a while, 7 years, and I've put myself through school. They also have other girls that put themselves through school there. Safety, I think, is very good there. I don't let anything, no one ever lets anything happen there, and if anything does happen, it's taken care of immediately. Nothing has ever gotten out of hand.
The one thing I've noticed, being downtown a lot, going to the higher end restaurants, Carnivore, Moe's, is, and I've seen it myself numerous times, where a group of 7, 8 guys from out of town, after dinner they'll ask, hey, we want to go to a gentleman's club. They've asked me, they've asked the owners, and they said, well, only what we recommend is Silk. It's 25 minutes away, and now it's 9 o'clock on a Monday night, and 9 out of 10 times the guys, that's too far to go. So the city's losing revenue, and if the one out of 10 people go, they're coming out of downtown. So it's not for everybody, and I know a lot of people don't like my business, but it's a legal business. It's run professionally, and it adds diversity to the city. If people want to see entertainment that's legal, why should we stop them from doing it? So it hurts the economy. It takes away money from the city, and not to shoot down the other clubs. There's 2 other clubs downtown that I've talked to every restaurant owner that I've been to, and they will not send them. The hotels and restaurants, the concierge, I'm in contact with all these people. They said there's no way they will send them to the other 2 clubs because it would be a joke. It's no disrespect to those clubs, but they're not high end.
It is a total misconception and logical fallacy to compare a tavern to an entertainment facility. Should you believe that the problem attendant to taverns will be visited upon this entertainment facility, then recommend approval of the public entertainment license and not the tavern license. Obviously, the objections we've heard are not objections to entertainment facilities downtown. They are objections to the form of entertainment. Objections expressed as fears. That word was used quite often. Fears that are irrational and unfounded, but fears nonetheless. But these fears are advanced to justify objections to the form of entertainment. Once Silk opens downtown, the expressed fears will disappear. Only by operating can Silk prove this fact. This is because the expressed fears are presented as a means to object to the type of entertainment. But all forms of lawful entertainment should be allowed and accepted as entertainment facilities in cities such as Milwaukee.
I think no matter where you put a 13,000 square foot new license, whether it's downtown or even in an industrial area, there's going to be quite a bit of discussion because that's a big deal. That is a big change. There's a high volume operation. So then the question becomes, is it appropriately cited? And does the operator have a track record, et cetera? Now, with appropriate citing, it can be like threading a needle. On the one hand, if you locate in an already existing entertainment district, at a new location, we may tell you, oh, it's concentration. If you locate in the middle of nowhere, we may say, oh, this doesn't fit. And I don't really apologize for that, because I think that's the purpose of this licensing committee, is to evaluate those specific factors. And irregardless of the type of entertainment, a 13,000 square foot entertainment business with liquor is going to be a big deal to those neighbors. So finding the right spot for that is going to be difficult.
This is not the first time that the people in front of us have been here, okay? The license has been denied numerous times. And since that has happened, the meter has run legally, okay? That there has been things that have been appealed, things that have gone to court, things that have said that the city of Milwaukee, and I know that there's a lot of objection, personally, whatever, that you can't have this or you can't do this, but the court of law has said that you can. And so this group here has said, all right,
we're going to take you to court. And so they have, and we, the city, have lost. And so I'm not hearing any of us say, okay, so if we deny this again, the meter continues to run, because aren't we, Mr. Chairman and committee members, on the hook for close to $1 million already in legal fees?
But the truth of the matter is that the evaluations of these types of establishments, and through the evaluation of a jury trial, said that we need to take a different look at this.
It would seem to me these lawsuits are completely irrelevant to this proceeding. Number one, they involve different applications and different facts. One doesn't even involve a liquor license. One involves a theater application for a theater license, which is the one the jury verdict arose under, correct?
Correct.
If our appeals fail, we owe the money regardless of what we do with this license, correct?
Correct.
So there's no relationship between the litigation that is pending in connection with other applications and this particular file. I mean, it's totally irrelevant. It shouldn't enter into the discussions at all. A, B, our ordinance does not permit it to enter into our consideration. Correct?
The recommendations of this body have to come from the ordinance as it's written,
Right.
which is what I've set forth already.
So weighing litigation that may involve the same individuals on totally different applications at different locations involving different facts, how can that possibly be relevant to this application within its four corners as the evidence that has been presented for and against has come before the bodies?
The vote was 3-2 to deny Silk's application yet again. Finally, fair or not, the old cliche persists of local businesses getting caught up in government red tape. But for nearly a year, the city's local business action team has worked to address those issues and perceptions and presented its findings on September 10th to the Steering and Rules Committee.
The local business action team was started after we actually heard people say that things could be done better, that things were taking too long to be done here in the city of Milwaukee. We got the inspiration from Bid 21 after this gentleman named Walsh come in from New York to talk about how they improved business, small business, and got more small business opened in New York. Dramatically changed things there. Commissioner Dahlberg, Commissioner Baker, and Commissioner Marcoux were at the afternoon session, and afterwards we talked about, well, why can't we try the same thing in Milwaukee? The result was a resolution declaring this local business action team to take a look at what are we doing different than other people? Why do we get reports that it takes longer to open a business here in the city of Milwaukee than in surrounding areas?
I'm really proud of quite frankly, how this action team came together, and I think Alderman Wachowski explained it very well. It was really a broad-based coalition of people, both the people who get regulated as well as the regulators as well as the policymakers. So having three aldermen being willing to spend the time to really work through these issues, I thought was extremely valuable, and I'm very grateful that that took place. I think several things that you're going to see in the report, and I'll just give you some highlights, is one of them is taking the development center from what I think is a partially made product to a complete product. And what I mean by that is really moving that into a true one-stop service delivery model. Bringing elements of the health department into the development center, bringing elements of licensing into the development center, so that when there's a customer there and there is an issue that's discovered, we don't end up pinging them from department to department, but it gets resolved at the development center. To me, that's really huge, and that will ultimately foster a lot of problem-solving methodologies within the development center that the customer only greatly benefits from. The other piece that I think all of us recognized was we really needed to look at the zoning ordinance. It was time to evaluate whether it really accomplished what it was intending to do. And one of the things that we were sensitive to listening to the public talk was when something goes into a BOZA process, just by definition, you're adding 6 weeks to the period of time that it takes to get an approval. So there was really a lot of thought put into, and are all of those discretionary approvals absolutely necessary? So that it's a work in progress. I won't say the complete evaluation is done yet. You will, over time, see a number of files that are going to be recommending some changes. But for example, one of them was taking the concept of a microbrewery, taking it out of a special use permit and making it a by right use with some limitations. And we've had our first one go through already. So there's an entity that won't wait 6 weeks to be able to get opened on up. I think there was a thoughtful look at the licensing process as well.
I don't want folks to get the picture that city government didn't work well with regard to business. I mean, there's a lot of things that we've done to advance business and try to make improvements. It is an ongoing effort, though. And I think that I liken it to the fact that we offer businesses a number of tools, and we have a number of tools in our arsenal to provide assistance to try to get business moving forward. And we were looking at some of our own tools and making sure that they were sharp here in this effort and that they were working well.
There's a lot of stereotypes about the city in terms, sometimes are negative, but with our state legislators, I've met with Senator Darling and Representative Kohinga, and I think it would be important for us to send them the document showing that, when they use some of the rhetoric that's not based on facts, that they can look at some of the changes we have made, and I think it would be helpful.
But I have to tell you that I was amazed at this city clerk's report, and the very first recommendations was lexically score all licenses and permit application forms. I want to commend you for that. And now if you'd explain what you're talking about.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Alderman Wachowski, Jim Ozarski, City Clerk. I did not lexically score that paragraph, otherwise I wouldn't have done that. One of the things that came out, and I was very, very pleased in the last budget to receive a small allocation through a budget amendment proposed by Alderman Perez and supported by the entire council, to offer a small amount of money for translation services for all languages for our documents, and to really, and we've done a lot of it. Along the way, and as part of the one of the things that the LBAT did was conduct a series of public hearings, and after the one that was held at the Anderson Water Tower facility, we had just released a translation of all the relevant documents pertaining to the Board of Zoning Appeals into Spanish. And I will admit, I was very proud of it. And I went up to a gentleman who's a well-known advocate for the bilingual and for making sure that more of our documents are available in multiple languages, including his own Spanish. And I kind of wanted to say, well, what'd you think? What'd you think? And he said, it's great. If you're a college graduate, or at least you have high school, you spoke high school Spanish. And we went back and we realized we were speaking at least high school, if not college level English on the native form. And what that caused us to do is to take a step back and realize that when we look at all of our forms and all of our documents, we've got to make a real effort internally to make sure that we are lexically scoring them, putting it simply, writing to our audience.
And that's what lexically means?
That's what it means.
Oh, okay.
And lex leges. But the bottom line was the best practices tell us we should be writing to about a 6th grade level.
The council adopted the LBAT's reforms on a unanimous vote. And that's a look back at some of the important issues decided upon in the most recent Common Council cycle. For the City Channel and Council Rewind, I'm Dustin Weiss.